Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. And this is another installment of Surviving Romance, and I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Okay, folks, as the title would suggest, ZZ Top got it absolutely right. Every woman loves a sharp-dressed man. In this video, we're going to go over how to tie a tie. We're going to go over why you should have a suit and tie in your wardrobe, including a few life hacks and some secrets that most, if you're not familiar with ties and suits and things like that, basically some little secrets and tips that'll help you along the way, okay? So, first things first, basically watch how I do the tie, okay? You'll see me repeatedly doing this knot. Just a regular single Windsor, okay? I'm not good enough to do the double Windsor, but this is still pretty doggone good if you ask me. Now, I already hear some of you saying, Prince Magnum, I don't need a suit and tie. I'm never going to need one, and stop where you're at right there, okay? First and foremost, if you go to take your other half out on a night on the town and she's wearing something that's drop dead gorgeous and the best you can pull out of your dang closet is a shirt and tie, yeah, that's going to be a little embarrassing for her. Don't do that to your other half, please. How many times have you all heard me say it? If she's worth it, you'll do it? Well, this is exactly what I mean by that, okay? So just bear that in mind. If she's worth it, you'll do it. And if your wife's watching, or your other half is watching, and ask you the question, well, why don't you get dressed up? And you say, well, I don't need to do all that. Guess what message you're sending? Just bear that in mind, okay? Now, beyond surviving romance, beyond doing this for your other half, it never fails you'll need to be in a courtroom in front of a judge, whether it's a traffic violation or something more serious than that. Or maybe it's a family function, or maybe it's some awards banquet, or like me, you know what, occasionally I get asked to be an AA speaker, and I have to go and to these speaking events, and guess what? Believe it or not, and just this past year alone, I've gotten a lot of practice on the suit and tie thing, with all the court dates and everything. And if you've kept up with the Prince Magnum channel, you know. But that's why I'm so dead set on the suit and tie. You know, it never fails. You need that. You need that suit and tie. Okay. Now that we've established that you need one, okay. Let's talk about some secrets, some tips, and some life hacks. Basically, you see me, kind of cross it over. Keep it flat on the front, okay? It's not as easy, it takes practice, so practice makes perfect. And one of the reasons why there's so many times you see me do this is, number one, I wanted you all to see how to do it, but number two, it'd been a couple months since I had done a tie, so I was a little out of practice, so I had to get back into practice. So this was a great opportunity for it. So it kind of worked out. It was a win-win situation. Okay, but basically cross it over, and you keep it flat, and then when you go to bring it up over the back, where you're going to bring that front, what turns into the front, that part that's flat on the front, you're going to slide it in right behind that. Just pull it down. You want to make sure there's at least 2 inches, that the tail itself is 2 inches shorter than the front. If there's a loop in the back of it, slide the tail into that loop, and that'll help keep it from flopping around, or just get yourself a good tie clip. If it doesn't have any of that, just make sure you got a nice suit jacket, keep it buttoned up, okay? It doesn't get any easier than that, all right? Now, let's talk about, real quick. I hear some of you already saying, well, that's a bit of a hassle. I'll just go get one of those clip-on ties, or one of those ties that zip up in the back. And you could do that. And I've seen people who have done that, and they look good. They look good. Some people make them look really good. Some people don't make them look so good, but, that's neither here nor there. I won't do that because even with as many years that clip-ons have been around and the zip-up ties, the ties that zip up in the back and they look just like the real thing. Well, the problem is that number one, there's not enough variety for that. And I like having variety with my suits. As a matter of fact, the suit that you see me working with here, I have a total of 5 ties, 2 of which you'll see in this video. A total of 5 ties just for one suit. Okay, I've got a light blue one that has about 4 or 5 ties that, basically I can pick the one that I want that day, and some of them have patterns, some of them are striped, just bear that in mind. Whatever I feel like that day, I can select from, and it looks good. It looks good, okay? So just bear that in mind. The other thing that I'm going to tell you why I won't go with a clip-on or won't go with a zip-up, for some reason, and maybe this is just me, maybe this is just, me being Prince Magnum, but I get a sense of accomplishment when I tie my own tie. It makes me feel more confident. And in some cases, yeah, you'll pay a couple dollars more for a really nice tie, but, with the confidence booster and all of that, honestly, I think the payoff is much greater than buying a clip-on or the zip-ups. Just one of them things. All right? Just bear that in mind. And suits, putting together your own suit, there was a time when it was not okay to do a cheap suit. Today, that stuff gets really expensive, and a lot of us don't have that kind of cash just floating around. So you can do a suit on the cheap. You could go to Goodwill, and Goodwill has ties, sports jackets, suit jackets, dress slacks. Goodwill has them. Walmart has them. You can even go to a thrift store, and I've actually bought a suit jacket or sports jacket from a thrift store and only spent 50 cents. Not a joke. And it's a good-looking jacket. It's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, I can't wear it as much. I've lost a little weight. I've trimmed up a little bit. But anyhow, I digress. And that's just one of them things, okay? You can get a suit on the cheap if you're thrifty, okay? So don't think that you have to spend tons of money, okay? If you have that kind of money and you want to spend it on a suit, by all means, go right on ahead, okay? And ties, you can even get a very nice tie at Dollar Tree. I've seen there's some of their ties I want to actually buy just because they're gorgeous looking ties, and I think that they would go nice with some of my suits. But anyhow, so you can get a tie on a very affordable budget. All right, now, if you're having problems and it's maybe too much of a hassle, or maybe you just don't have the dexterity to do this, get you or a friend and tie the tie, okay? This is a cool life hack. Tie your tie, get it perfect, and then loosen the knot where you can slide it over your head, and you're done. You never have to tie that tie again, and it's the same as if you had bought the zip-up tie, just with a lot more variety. So, and believe it or not, as Prince Magnum, I have done that for I actually have a very good friend that I have done that for, and I did that with several of his ties, and he was very grateful for it. As a matter of fact, as that story goes, I insisted that he buy a nice looking tie. I made it, I had a sweetheart pick the one that she liked, and then from there, we bought that tie. I tied it for him. Basically, I put it on my head, tied it, and then slipped it off, and then he put it on. It worked out very nicely. He looked really good with that get-up. But anyhow, now that we've established that, let me tell you all a quick story. Last year, as I'm making this video, Princess Faye was going through this serious rough patch. I don't know what exactly happened. I can't put my finger on it. She was just, it was like a really bad case of depression. And no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get her to come out of it. as the story goes, I'm like, well, I'm going to do something about this. I dropped her off at work. I went home, put on a nice suit and tie, and I went over to Butterfields in Farmington with the help of the florist and I basically made a custom rose bouquet in a vase, and I spent a nice little chunk of change on it. And I took this bouquet, over to Princess Faye at her job at Little Caesars, and in my suit and tie, getting out of my classic Ford Maverick and everything. Walked inside, and Princess Faye is pretty well used to this, and of course it made her day. But here's the funny part about this story. The first words out of her mouth were, "Oh my God." And I thought I did something wrong. No, what it really was that if I'd have been 5 minutes sooner, I would have basically caught some guy asking her for her phone number, and basically I would have walked in to give, my wife, who was, being hit on by this guy, roses dressed in a suit and tie. I imagine that would have been a big blow to his ego. So, guys, keep that in mind next time. Just bear that in mind. Tuck that away at for a later date, because that could end up being you. Kind of hard to have your sweetheart stolen. Whenever you're dressed like that. But anyhow, and by the way, all of her co-workers thought I looked really good. All right. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and start ending it as usual. But for those of you out there who might be watching this, got your pants sagging down around you, the saggy pants and all that, and you think you're gangster, well, the last clip, no. That's what gangster looks like, okay? Get a clue. You're not gangster. You look like, you look, basically, we need to flush you. That's what you look like. Anyhow, that brings us to the usual spot. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like. And if you're not subscribed, be sure to go ahead and subscribe. There's a little something on here for everybody. Positive feedback, always welcome. Any hate, you're going to get made fun of. Or you're going to get deleted. Either way, it's all the same to me. As usual, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep her off her feet and do something special for her today. And as always, for all of you out there, if nobody's told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.
Do you want to go to war, Malaki? No. Because we could go to war.
No.
I'm for real. I'm for real.